In this video, I'm going to take a throwback to Battlefield 4 in the MBT on Zavod 311. One of the best maps in the game for tanking. I'd say it's probably the best in terms of infantry and tanks alongside each other. Maybe Propaganda's up there as well, but Zavod, being a vanilla map, is always there for you to play on rotation. I'm also going to be giving you an insight into some very interesting tank trivia that you may not have heard before. Battlefield 3 and 4 were full of interesting bits of information that continued from what we saw in Bad Company 2, and many people really enjoyed that sort of stuff. You can find loads of it on the Battlefield wiki page, and I'm talking about the sort of things that really you don't notice in game unless you give it that extra bit of attention. The attention to detail that separates Battlefield 4 from many of the other games in the franchise. Now, as you can see, I'm on the Russian side, which means I'm using the T90. This is a good tank. They all have their benefits and drawbacks. I'll be going through those in a little bit more detail later on in the video, because there's some very interesting stuff that some of you, all these years later, may still not know about the tanks in Battlefield. I'm playing with a couple of friends and we're looking to turn a game that it's kind of even at the start, but the enemies do have a few players that are intent on backcapping us, and it meant that the game was incredibly close. I've got two 5-minute clips, one from the start of the game, one from the end of the game, and it shows how to almost tank babysit in this game, get flags capped, push aggressively when you can, and also survive a very aggressive team that are looking to take you out. So starting out with a bit of trivia for the tanks in Battlefield 4. The M1 Abrams is actually the fastest MBT in the game. It has a speed of 51 miles per hour, which gives it a slight edge over the other tanks. However, it does have drawbacks in other areas. As I've mentioned in previous tank guides and videos, you can't actually turn the turret round 180 degrees and then shoot a soldier that's standing right up against the rear of your tank. You're forced to either get out and kill them, get your gunner to kill them, or reverse over them. It gives that tank a bit of a disadvantage, I feel, in areas where you're getting flanked by enemies, and it means you really have to keep the front of the tank facing everything, which you should be doing anyway, but sometimes you just lose out in a couple of situations. The Type 99 MBT has the best acceleration in the class. However, the Coaxial HMG isn't as good as on the M1 Abrams. Not something you'll really notice, but if you do use the HMG on the Abrams, you will notice that it is really solid compared to the other tanks. It's almost like you don't get as much bounce or recoil on the shots, and as it's a two-shot kill, if you can hit a headshot or at least line up a couple of accurate hits on an enemy standing in front of you, you are really going to benefit from that two-tap. Not shooting, letting it reset, and then firing it again, and you can dominate a lot of players, especially campers, on buildings. One of the main reasons I love tanking in Battlefield 4 has to come down to the speed and manoeuvrability of the tanks. They're not super fast, they're not as fast as a Panzer 38T in Battlefield 5, but they're definitely not as sluggish as some of the other bigger tanks that you see in Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 5. They're manoeuvrable, they're very strong. And with the right team play, with the right gunner, you can get yourself into pretty much any situation and survive if you have the skills. A bad tanker will die in a lot of situations, whereby a good tanker will find a route out and use everything that DICE give you in terms of countermeasures, the ability to seat switch, jump out and repair, get rid of critical hits, and just get on your way. It's not quite as good as we saw in Battlefield 3, where you had the reactive armor. That was extremely effective. But trust me, the tanks in BF4 are miles ahead of what we have in Battlefield 5, and for anyone who's never played BF4, go back and check them out. My loadout still consists of the AP shell and the HMG. I feel as if you don't really need to look past the AP shell, although I've been coming up against some players recently that have been doing a lot of damage with individual tank shots on me. I feel like they've been using the HE, benefiting from that additional damage you can get. You do miss out on some splash damage though, and that's where the AP shell excels. Being able to blast out enemies that are camping behind cover is really satisfying. It gives you that edge as well against the players who are hiding behind destructible material. You get a lot of that in Battlefield 4, little walls that can be blasted out, or buildings, especially on Bravo flag. When you go back towards there, you'll see what I mean. You can blast a building and get yourself the additional splash damage and kills, and even level buildings entirely. My question to you is, what sort of tank gameplay do you want to see in future Battlefield games? Are you looking for MBT gameplay like we had in BF4 and BF3? Or do you prefer the slower paced stuff we get in Battlefield 5 and 1? I understand that Battlefield isn't just designed for players like me, there's a vast audience, and DICE are going to try and appease as many as they can. If they can get 90% of people on board with the tank gameplay, that's good enough for them. So maybe some people, including myself, might just have to bite our tongues and say, well, we're not going to see this stuff again. But I'm interested to see what you guys say. I think most of you are probably Battlefield 4 fans and share my opinion, but there might be some other stuff out there, so let me know in the comments below. An interesting discussion I had with a friend the other day revolved around the maps in Battlefield. And say the next game is Battlefield 2020 or Battlefield 6, and it's like a BF3, BF4 style game. Slightly futuristic, but really modern day combat. Would you like to see a load of new maps come to the game? Probably 10 on release, that's what we've come to expect. 8 to 10 on release. And they're pretty good. You usually get 1 or 2 that are exceptional maps and the rest are just okay. Or would you prefer to see 2 or 3 new maps and the rest remakes from previous Battlefield games? So let's say for example we have Battlefield 2020 launching with 3 new maps you've never seen before. They're all really good, DICE have a lot of time to put them together. Then you have some from Battlefield 2, a few from Battlefield 3, a couple from BF4 and maybe a surprise edition from an older Battlefield game. I think that would make 10 really fun maps that many people would love to play. Not only the people that have played them previously looking to get that nostalgia hit, but also players that never got to play the older Battlefield games. It's very difficult these days to go back and enjoy some of the best maps on Battlefield just because the servers aren't there. And we always complain about DICE not creating maps with the right mode in mind. Why not just go and take Arica Harbour from Bad Company 2 or Valparaiso? Why not go back and take Propaganda from BF4 for a conquest map? And save yourself all the trouble of making loads and loads of maps that are all really not fit for purpose, as we've seen in Battlefield 5. Instead, just remake some maps and save yourself the time, spend it on making the game better in other areas. Of course, there will be a few new maps I want to see in the new Battlefield game, but I'm saying let's have more and focus more on remakes. Some of the best games out there, CSGO being the best example, use maps like Rust and then make another one, Rust 2, and they'll continue to make that map again and again because it's really, really well made. Yes, CSGO is not the same as Battlefield, it's completely different, but as a game that people are willing to replay, I'm sure that Battlefield would benefit from taking some of the most popular maps of the past and bringing them out on release, almost reimagined for that game. So back to Zavod 311. We're in a situation now where the tickets are close. We've managed to get onto a flag, and this is where the kills come in. We start blasting people to pieces. My friend is gunning like crazy. I'm doing my best just to smash any white thermal signatures I see in my crosshairs. It's pretty crazy, the thermal in this game. I think it ruins a lot of the infantry gameplay because you think that you're safe and then bang, some tank spots you because he saw a little white dot on the screen. So I'd say thermal's completely OP in Battlefield 4. That being said, you are going to use it if you're in a tank and you're trying to hold on to a victory like this one. It gets really tricky as well when the enemy team start to cap Alpha behind us because it's very easy on Zavod to cap A, cap B, drop a few beacons and then struggle. Whilst I feel like usually I'm on the team that doesn't do that and then I have to go back and fix it myself. But this team was good this time round. We get a lot of kills and completely destroy the enemy, end up winning, and it's a really good feeling. So let me know what you thought of this Battlefield 4 video, a bit of a rambling video. Right now I'm not actually in the UK, I'm away on some super secret stuff in Stockholm, so I needed to get a video out there for you guys that wasn't Battlefield 5, kind of sick of that game at the minute, but was at least something interesting for me to make. If you enjoyed, let me know, leave your comments down below and I'll catch you in the next video. Objective echoes neutralized. Sniper, we have to field position.